Hey everybody, it's September 23rd. We're going to do a little bit of beekeeping this afternoon. It's a pretty nice day, probably 80 to 85 degrees. And I've got a helper today. Alabama Journeyman Beekeeper, Amy Seiber, is here to help us. First we're going to chain this box out. I've got this bottom box here that's kind of rotted away. I'm going to swap it out. And we're just going to go through some hives, check the weight, just see how everybody's doing. Some colonies still making a lot of brood, so this is a few frames in. Nice sheet of brood here, a lot of eggs and stuff on the frames next to it. So just hopefully your brood looks like this. It's pretty nice, not too spotty. All right, we're gonna go down a little deeper and change this bottom box out. I wanted to move the frames in there right here, so like if the queen is on one of these frames and I knock her off, right, she falls down into the bottom board. Like I don't want to move the box over to the side or something and knock her out and not see her. So I moved the frames from here to here so if I accidentally knock the queen off, she's either going to be on this table or on the bottom board here. This box weighs probably 100 pounds. So something else I do during this time is we're checking just the weight of the boxes. And you can do this by like lifting the box up, right? Or you can do it by picking up the entire hive, right? So just between that one and this one, like I lift this up. This is very easy for me to lift. I say it's easy. I just know that it's a lot lighter than this one. If I come pick this one up, remember we just changed this box out. So I know most of the food is up here. And this box to me is 20 or 30 pounds heavier than this hive, like by itself. Like this is just so easy to lift there. You're doing that as well. I'm still going to feed that one because it's heavy. They don't have a lot in the bottom. We're still going to feed, but I'm just going to mark this one to say that, hey, maybe they need more food. We've already went through the brood up here, so there's a lot of brood. Amy saw the brood. She can attest for that.
Yes.
A lot of really nice brood. Saw the queen up here even. So again, most of the bees have moved up here. Most of the stuff's up here. A lot of backfilling down here of like pollen and other resources stuff. So this is my hive down in the bottom left. Always a lot of bees in here, but always more beetles. Amy's gonna crush some of them. Bees work pretty hard to move the beetles up above the inner cover. This hive just always has more beetles, and it is down closest to the woods. So all these other hives we look through on the top row, hardly any beetles, maybe a handful you see. This one always has a lot, and I would expect those over here in under this tree. I would expect those two hives to have a lot of beetles too. So we'll crush these and just check them out, make sure they're good. So this is the hive we were checking that had a few beetles in it. You see the queen right here. So they're all the way over in this corner. The bees have kind of, some boxes, you know, the bees aren't right in the middle. They've kind of moved over to this right side over here. There she is hanging out. This is full of brood right here. Kind of hard to see. It's full of eggs. And what are we, September 23rd, and she's still making some drone brood down here. And so this is all drones that are still in like larva stage. And you get them, if you can't get them on the camera, it's fine. They'll just have to trust that we know what we're talking about. So still making drone brood, almost the end of September. So this hive looked good, other than a few beetles. We did put the little traps over here. I normally don't use these traps anymore. Not that they're more trouble than it's worth. It's just I will always end up spilling some oil on the bees or something. And most of my hives do not have a lot of beetles, but we put some oil traps there to help these out, you know, this hive out a little bit. All right, so we've been at it for a couple of hours, just slowly checking these. You know, we're not checking them really fast, just kind of taking our time. Got all the way to the end here, and I did reduce this one down to a single. The colony looks pretty good, but there's a lot of the frames that were just mostly empty. Like maybe they had just either eaten all the stores out of them. They weren't using a lot of they were more on the right side of the box, right? These like 10 frames on the right side here, and not using kind of most of the ones on this side. So that's the one I reduced down to a single. So there's 10 really good frames in the bottom there. There is a lot of bees in that box, but most of the frames that I took out are just good comb, not a lot of food in them. I'll freeze them or just store them for next year. Everything is pretty average. I would say most of these colonies, they either got a C or a B, which is again a subjective way of like, I'm just rating them. Hey, are they average? Are they a little bit above average? Most probably have an average amount of food. Most are lighter than other ones. We probably have a few of the heavier ones are like these right here. Like some of these are pretty heavy. I gave most of them Bs, like they're just heavier boxes. A lot of these down here, a little bit lighter colonies. So we'll just feed them a little more. What did you think, Amy?
I enjoyed that, and I learned that I think I'm good with 6 hives.
6 hives is enough, yeah.
I don't need 14. Yeah. Also, I'm ready to, I feel like I'm ready to check mine for winter. I learned a little better what the weight should be.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, right? You just you kind of tell. If you've got a handful of hives and you pick up one, it's really heavy, and you can compare them like, oh, how heavy are all these? Or you now know how heavy this one is, right? So this is 10 good frames in this one. Mm-hmm. You kind of know how heavy a 10 frame box should be that's like mostly full of food and bees, right? You just kind of lift up the box like, all right, this feels good.
I suspect that I could do that to a couple of my hives.
What, go down to one box or?
I think so.
Yeah, it depends, right? I'm not like, it's very easy to overwinter here. We're in central Alabama. It's very easy to overwinter here in one box. There's not a big deal doing this. 2 boxes is really conservative. That's what we try to teach to a lot of people, just to use 2 boxes to be conservative. You're able a lot in the wintertime to feed liquid food because it's not really that cold here. I feed a lot of times in the middle of December. Just what I say is like I give them a little snack. And if it's 50 plus, they're going to eat the liquid food, right? If it's much colder than that, they might not take liquid food, but your mileage may vary on when they want to take your liquid or not. I much rather feed liquid food than solid food ever. I think solid food is more of an emergency type food. I want to feed them liquid so they'll take the food and store it away. Do we want to say anything else? We talked about the beetle traps on that one. That's the only one I put beetle traps in, was that one on the very end down there. And these 2, of course, I said they were going to have more beetles. They're under this tree. They do have a few more beetles. Really, a lot of the other hives hardly see any beetles in them. Most of the brood patterns look pretty good. Most of the bees are up in the top box. There's a handful that the majority of the colony is still in the bottom, but most of the bees are up in the top box. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna let Amy go home now. She's been a big help.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep, and we'll go to Amy's house one day and do some beekeeping there. All right, thanks y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.